Armoire makes getting dressed easy. With a clothing rental membership from Armoire, build the perfect wardrobe with brands that are high quality, unique, and recommended just for you. All you have to do is take a 5-minute style quiz and select items from your dynamic personalized closet. The styles show up at your door in as little as 2 days. Then when you're ready for new clothes, just swap them out for more new-to-you styles. Now, I went on a girls' trip to Santa Fe recently, and I rented all of my outfits from Armoire. It was so much fun putting together a mix of casual and formal looks, and my favorite was this pair of white, wide-legged jeans from Paige that went well with everything. Now, I wouldn't normally own anything white because I can be kind of clumsy, but with Armoire, I just ship it back and they'll take care of keeping the pants in pristine condition. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/dateable. That is armoire.style, spelled ARMOIRE.style/DATEABLE to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today.
Could your daily routine be full of hormone disruptors? There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent-free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, they all mess with our hormones. The good news is we don't have to suffer through it anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms of women of all ages. Since I've been using Hormone Harmony, I have felt more balanced, and other women feel the same way. The biggest benefit, they say, is feeling like myself again. That's what women mention over and over in their reviews, and there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code DATEABLE at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off today.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to season 20. Here we are.
And we've arrived.
We're all grown up. 20's a big one.
I wonder if we do this for like 100 seasons. We're just going to be like, welcome back to 100, season 111. We are now 80 years old and still talking about dating.
If we are still doing this when we're 80, I mean, obviously, I would hope we would have an evolution slightly, but...
Yeah, the apps.
Yeah.
The apps.
It's
these
not
days.
going to be the apps. It's going to be like time travel or some weird...
Right. Or like the apps are installed in our brains and we're swiping with our eyes. We're like, look to the left or look to the right.
Just AI. We're just...
We're not even physically dating.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good reminder for everyone to appreciate where we are right now.
No shit. No shit.
It could be worse. No, we can't let it get that way, which is why everyone must read How to Be Dateable and share it with a friend so we don't go down this dark path.
That just really creeped me out. It seemed like an episode of Black Mirror that would come out and everybody would be like, yeah, that's not too far from the truth, actually.
Well, I'm really glad this never came to fruition. Do you remember when VR was all the rage?
Yes.
And everyone was virtual reality and everyone was talking about like how your avatar would date another avatar.
Yeah.
And it would be a time efficiency. And I was like, that's terrible. Like, I'm all for technology. But that to me is too far.
VR has tried to take off maybe 5 times in the last 15 years, and it just never really stuck. It's weird. I even thought this last time around, I was like, maybe I'll buy some properties in the metaverse because I want to buy a house next to Snoop Dogg and maybe it'll like, I don't know, maybe it'll be a good investment. And then everyone's like, yeah, let's buy stuff in the metaverse. And then now nobody talks about the metaverse. So.
Oh, goodness. But shifting gears, we're excited to talk about, a big theme that really came out of writing the book. And I think universally, one of the things that we really thought about of like what we learned from this podcast and what we learned from our own dating lives and watching the people that really like made dating work for them, that it was this feeling of taking control of your dating life and putting yourself in the driver's seat. And like, what does that actually mean? And I think a big piece of it is not being afraid to scare away the wrong people. Because so much of dating, it's not just attracting, that of course is a piece of it, but it's also filtering out the wrong people.
Yes. And we tend to think the more people we attract, the better.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean we're attracting the right people. So I actually think part of the whole filtering process is try to get as many people out as possible, the wrong people out. Otherwise, they're just occupying your space, your time, your energy.
I mean, when I look back to my dating life, like the things I wish I could do differently was to not spend time on the wrong people. And, you know, that wasn't even just filling up my calendar with dates. And I think that can get really exhausting. So that's like another reason to filter. But I think for me, it was really like investing in the wrong people and not feeling like I wanted to like do anything to rock the boat and say the wrong things and, you know, kind of just be like, I don't want to scare this person off because, you know, it feels so rare to find this chemistry. And I just stayed with these people that were giving me kind of the crumbs. And to me, though, it felt like, oh my God, this could be something. And I really got ahead of myself a lot of times, the dreamer in me.
And then why did you feel this way? Because we've been taught for so long that there's certain things we shouldn't talk about or ask for or actions that we shouldn't take because we would scare away people. I mean, I still remember all the Cosmo articles that were like, these are topics not to be discussed on a first date.
Yes.
Make sure that you don't let yourself get too silly on a date, or make sure that you don't bring up commitment too early in a relationship. All to what? To keep around the wrong people who don't want a commitment, who don't want to see the real you. That's what we've been taught, especially as women. All of those articles were around about how to keep men around by not scaring them away. So we were always walking on eggshells when we were dating when we were younger.
It's so true. And I mean, we get questions all the time for people that are like, well, I want to say this, or I want to share that I need this, but it's too early. I can't do it right now. We just started dating. And our take is like, this is actually the perfect time to be saying this, because think about it. If you suppress everything for months and months while you're in the dating stage, then you do get into a relationship. And then all of a sudden, all these like needs come out. And then the person's like, whoa, I didn't know that this was a criteria of being in a relationship with you. So you're either like going to continue to repress by not sharing at that point, or it's going to come to a halt because you realize that you two can't meet each other's needs.
A lot of couples, after 6 months of dating, will fight about something that happened before they committed. And people bring shit up all the time from, well, you've been selfish. Because remember, like on our third date, you picked this place and you didn't ask for if I want to go to this place. It's like, even though we're brushing it under the rug, it still resurfaces later when you get into a committed relationship and you basically have no choice but to reveal the real you. And for us to be like front loading all of this, to be like, oh no, I'm just going to not talk about it or say this, all to get into a relationship that will eventually fail because of all the things that you've been hiding, doesn't make any sense. We've been working on everything backwards. That's what we're saying, kind of like scare them away in the beginning so you can avoid having this terrible relationship with them later.
I mean, that was a huge pivotal point for me, was like I was always like kind of like monitoring what texts I sent and when I sent them, if I did it too much or responded too quickly, like all of that. It was like so exhausting thinking about that. Just releasing that alone, it just made dating a lot easier. But a big piece too is like, okay, I want to be with someone I can just text whenever.
Yes.
So why am I like holding this back in the early stages? And that doesn't mean like you bombard them with like 100 text messages or you're an asshole. Like we're not saying like scare them away, like try to do all the jerk
don't be
moves.
A douche.
We're not saying that. We're saying like be yourself. And if that scares them away, it's not the right person for you.
I still remember the times where I didn't have to work as hard to keep someone was when I just didn't have a fear
Yeah.
of losing them. And I hate saying that because it's like we should always be like, I value this person, I value their time. But I guess my fear of losing them wasn't around, oh, am I good enough? It was like, if you don't think I'm the right fit, then I'm going to lose them, and that's okay. And I still remember there was a guy I was dating like for such a short amount of time, but I was already seeing someone else. And I remember just being really honest with him, like, I have been seeing someone else before you, and that relationship may be getting a little bit more serious. And this guy's like, hey, I like you, and I'm along for the ride, and thank you for being honest with me. And this is not going to drive me away. I still want to see where this goes. And I still was like, oh my God, that didn't scare him away.
Yeah.
That didn't drive him away.
Well,
and
confidence.
It's still like,
that's sexy.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. It's like, I'm telling you the truth. If you're not down for that, then you have the option to move away.
I'm assuming this was like early on.
Yes.
It wasn't like months and months had gone by. Like, I think there's a difference too in early dating.
Yes.
I think where he was coming from was, okay, I don't fully know where this is going with me and you, and then you and that other person.
Right.
But if we're the right fit for each other, you'll also see that. And I'm down to just, see where this goes. And I think what you were saying about like that feeling of like losing them, it's again, not to say that they're like disposable or like they're not someone you want to hold on to. But the reality is if you text someone something and your word choice is enough for them to bounce, like that isn't the right person for you.
No.
And we see this all the time. Like I remember you were saying like you'd have friends like send you the text, just send to this person, and then they're not even getting an authentic version of you. They're basically dating you, Yue, if you're the one writing the text.
Yes, we edit the shit out of our words when we're digital. I just remember thinking about this one text to send to some guy just trying to confirm a date. And I think I went through like 60 iterations of like, should I be more demanding? Should I be like, hey, we're still on for tomorrow?
Oh my
or like,
God.
Hey, just
so
checking if we're still on for tomorrow. Or being like, hey, I have my friend asked me to go out tomorrow night. If we're still not if we don't have plans anymore, I'm just going to say yes to my friend.
God.
I went through 60 iterations and I remember just being like, wow, I just wasted probably an hour or two of my life that I could have been spending elsewhere, all just trying to ask the simple question, are we still on for tomorrow?
It's crazy too, because if the person liked you, it didn't matter which way. Of course, again, if you're like an asshole and saying stuff, that's different.
Hey, fucker.
Yeah.
We're still on for tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we're not like saying to test someone. I think that's the difference with scare them away. It's not test them, but it's be yourself. And yeah, like this is what kills me with dating apps too and opening lines and all that. If someone thinks you're attractive and interesting, it doesn't matter what you say. You just need to get the convo going, or in your case, you need to confirm the date and move on. See them.
Yeah, it can be so simple. I always think about the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, it is exactly what proves this point. She's trying to get rid of him, right? Yeah. She's trying to lose Matthew McConaughey. But his bet is that he gets to be with her. So if someone like him is so committed to being with you, everything she did, he tried to turn it into something charming. He's like, oh, that's really cute, that weird thing she just did. Or like, she's being a little moody, but that's okay. That's just who she is, because he was committed to making it work. That's what that means. If someone likes you and if someone chooses to be with you, obviously not to this extreme, then everything you do, they will see it as a part of you, not because it's a weakness or it's a fault in you.
I feel like drained even when we're talking about this right now.
I know, same. Same, because it brings me back to
all
the times that I had to hold back.
But anyways, we're excited to get into it with this episode because we want to go into like why, we touched on some of them, but like, why do we feel like we are so afraid to scare away the wrong people? And then more importantly, what can we do about it? How can we start doing some more tactical things that don't have us feel this way? And we can lead with ourselves more in control and feel empowered in dating. So we're going to get into all of that. Before we do, though, of course, the book is out. pick it up. It's at bookstores now. It is on Amazon, on bookshop.org if you want to order online, but through local bookstores, Barnes & Noble, like really wherever you want to get books, we are available. And you can also get it at your library too,
Yes.
or request it if it's not there. That's another one we learned that it's actually, you're supporting us too, because libraries buy copies of the books. So ultimately do what works for you. Like we want you to get the book. An audiobook, all of it. It's all available.
My favorite is getting the audiobook from the library and then buying a copy to keep.
That's a really good idea, actually.
So get both. That's what we're saying. Just get both.
And then at Dateable Podcast, that's where you can find us on Instagram. That's probably our most active social, but I guess TikTok's back. So
fuck me.
We're like, oh my God, are we going to have?
Fuck me. I was like, I'm so happy TikTok is gone. And then
it's back.
It was gone for what, 40 minutes?
Oh my God. I almost feel like it was just like a ploy to be like, I got it back. Anyways.
I know. But I know you can't download it right now.
Oh, you can't? Okay.
Yeah. If you deleted it, you can't re-download. So something's thank God.
Who knows by the time this airs what will be going on. We are doing this like a week in advance. So
you're right.
Who knows?
Something changes every day.
You can still find us there. We don't have quite the following, but also YouTube.
You get to see us on video and what our backgrounds are. I have to say, teal's my favorite color. I have my teal mug. If you can see the video, you'll appreciate all the colors I have.
Yeah,
teal
you're
ring.
You're bringing it. You're bringing the teal.
I'm really
Yui's whole house is teal now.
It really is. It honestly is. Yes.
It was so funny. Like, shout out to Lou. We've had him on the podcast before. He is my house cleaner and former porn star that we had on our podcast. And he actually took this How to Be Dateable sign and he replaced another poster that's up, like hanging in the house. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. But I kind of do need it for like the background of recording. So I'm going to move it back.
Oh, he moved that one behind
he
you
took back,
elsewhere.
Took off this other one. He's like, we don't need that. This is way better. Like,
oh my
someday
God.
it will be in the hallway of the home.
I love that he's rearranging your house.
Yeah, he's like, this is a more important poster for you to have up.
He probably thinks it's so random to have that poster right there. He probably thought you were like waiting to hang it up. Because if you could see this on video, it makes sense for a video. But if you just saw it in real space, it's like it's just a poster on her drawer.
Yeah. So bootleg. One day we'll have a good setup. Anyways.
I think it's beautiful.
Or maybe not. We're just doing it. We're just rolling with it.
I just have a book on a whiteboard.
Well, UA has a unique situation right now.
Yeah, it's an internet situation. But I think this is fine. You get to see the real book.
It's working, yeah. But also, we did originally turn her old channel into this new channel.
Yes.
So if you really want to dig up some of the archives, I don't know.
Oh, it's so good. Because it's like from 15 years ago. And then I have, I guess, followers on YouTube who've been with me since, the beginning of Ask Miss Singlefied was the name of my channel.
Yeah.
And some guy that commented a few months ago was like, she's really aged. And I'm like, yeah, fucker. Like
it's been 20 years.
Yeah, it's been like, I was in my 20s when I started this channel. I'm in my mid 40s now. Yes, I've aged. And then I was like, and guess what? You've also aged, fucker.
Right. It's not like overnight, all of a sudden. Yeah. It's like, look at the timestamp of that video 15 years ago,
Yeah. Like, thank you. Thank you for pointing out the obvious. But yes.
It's fun for me sometimes to watch the videos when they come up, like when someone comments, because I'm like, oh my God, you've grown so much in your opinion. Not even just like you as a person, but like your opinions on things. And some of it was just the times of dating advice. But yeah.
It's hilarious that people still comment on these older videos. How to date a Chinese girl.
Yes, that one gets a lot. I'm like, oh my God, really? Okay, well, before we get into it, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor.
Did you know that an estimated 5 billion plastic hand soap and cleaning bottles are thrown away each year? That's a lose-lose situation for you and the planet. Blue Land is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet with the same powerful clean you're used to. The idea is simple. They offer refillable cleaning products with a beautiful, cohesive design. You just fill your reusable bottles with water, drop in the tablets, and wait for them to dissolve. You'll never have to grab bulky cleaning supplies ever again. And I have to say, since switching to Blue Land products at home, I'm experiencing far less allergies and inflammation. And generally, it just feels so good to be using clean products, especially with my dog around. Blue Land has a special offer for our listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/dateable. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/dateable for 15% off. That's blueland.com/dateable to get 15% off.
We all know that February is the month of love, and it's time to keep that Valentine's Day energy going all month long. Elevate your passion using the natural power of cannabis with Via. My go-to gummy is still the Flow State CBD one. It's THC-free with herbal plant extracts and functional mushrooms designed to support brain function, boost energy, and enhance mental focus. But this month, when love is in the air, I highly recommend trying out their best-selling High Love Gummy that will awaken your senses, increase blood flow, and intensify any sexual experience. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the US in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. If you're 21 plus, head to viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off. And if you're new to Via, get a free gift of your choice. That's VIIA hemp.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. After you purchase, they ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. This month of love, elevate your love life with Via. Okay, I want to start by reading an excerpt from the book to kind of set the tone.
Please.
So the section, this is in our chapter, Investing Appropriately. The subsection is, don't be afraid to scare away the wrong people. So here we go. Dating is as much about attracting the right people as it is about filtering out the wrong ones. When you're the CEO of your love life in determining whether to invest in someone, initiating meaningful conversations and telling people what you want is a must. And if that scares someone away, you did your job of filtering out someone not right for you. If the person you've been seeing wants to be exclusive, but they aren't quite ready to have the official label, it's still vital that you share what you want. We often see daters starting the dreaded DTR convo with, "What are we? Where do you see this relationship going?" But it's time to flip the script and put your needs at the forefront. Make sure your intentions are crystal clear, and if someone cannot meet you where you're at, then you'll know that it's okay to let them go. Only then can you invest in someone else who is ready and capable.
We wrote that? Whoa.
It's empowering.
Impressive.
I feel
So
empowered.
impressive.
I'm not even dating right now, and I feel empowered, ready to get out there.
Yeah, I think we're just really bad at expressing our needs in every facet of life.
Yeah, and it's how you say it too, right? It comes down to how you say it.
Yes.
There's a difference of like demanding or like throwing a tantrum or something versus telling someone like what it is near and dear that would make the situation work for you.
And we're afraid to ask for these things. We're so scared to like say something that makes someone run the other way or like to leave us because we're so scared of being rejected. This is inherent in all of us. And it can feel very personal when someone's like rejecting what you're asking.
Yeah.
Like there's a personal vendetta against you. And I get that. I often think about like the times I've gotten no or the times that people have disagreed with me. It felt like a personal attack.
I think the worthiness wound really flares up, like the I'm not good enough feeling. And I mean, we always say rejection is just redirection. It's not a reflection of your self-worth in any way, but it can feel that way. So I get it. Like when you're like, I don't want to say this because if this person says no, or they decide that I'm not for them because I said this, then am I flawed? Is there something wrong with me? Will anyone ever love me? Those are simply like not true statements, but that is what I know has at least gone through my head at times.
Right. We think that this person is saying, you are not good enough for me, when they are simply just saying, you're not the right person for me.
Yeah.
And we are not going to be the right person for everybody, thank God, because that'd be really tiring if we were. The whole point of dating is to find someone who's the most suitable for you. It kind of just flips it around that it's not about rejection, but we do have this inherent fear that people are rejecting us and they're scared of us.
I know for me, that was a huge, huge shift just to get the word rejection out. Like rejection proof. We have a whole part of the book actually with rejection therapy and like ways to like basically not make rejection sting as much. And for years, I think that like that was a factor for me. Like I didn't want to tell my friends that like another date didn't work out or another person like couldn't commit, or even to myself, because it was like a reflection again that something was wrong with me. But the last time dating, I got rejected, quote unquote, more than ever before in my life. And it's because I had a different attitude of like not being afraid to scare people away. And I was more myself than ever before in dating. And for some people, it wasn't a fit. And they saw that. Or for me, I saw that because I was able to say what I wanted to say. And then eventually it got me to someone that was like, yes, I want this. I'm down.
And then that's because you were driving in that scenario, but we're so afraid of people being driven away from us.
Yeah.
Because we want to be accepted. We want to be liked. Dating ultimately is, a lot of us think it's about validation a lot of times. So if someone does reject us or say no to us, we think they don't like us. And it's not like that, but I get why there's this deep desire for acceptance.
This is why we put on our date selves. This is why we try to hide some of the opinions and quirks that might push someone away. This is why we could sometimes become dating chameleons, just blending in and being like, yeah, I love that indie band that I've never heard of, but you keep talking about, so I'm just going to pretend that I really like them too, and I'm into the same thing as you are. But eventually it's going to come out that like you're a huge Taylor Swift fan or something. Like, why not just say that?
I still remember there was this time I matched with this guy who was really into camping. We were texting before we met up, and he was like, oh, so are you into camping too? And I was like, oh my God, I love camping, obsessed. I try to go as much as I can. He's like, cool, me too. And so we met up for our first date. He showed up in his camping gear because he was on his way to camping. And I had this visceral reaction of like, I don't want this. Like, this is not the life I want.
I was going to say, you are not someone I would associate camping with.
I think glamping is fun. I think camping like once in a blue moon is fun. Just like if I'm on mushrooms or something. But it was definitely not like a weekend activity. But for him, it was like a weekend activity.
Right.
And I remember him just being like, oh, what kind of camping gear do you have? Like, do you have any recommendations for this tent or whatever? And I couldn't even lie anymore. I was like, I'm sorry. I don't know anything about camping. Everybody else does all the preparation for me. And he was like, oh, okay. So you're really not a camper at all. And I think if we had established that, I don't think we would have gone on this first date. It was like, there was definitely no chemistry or connection.
Yeah.
But why did I pretend? Why did I even fucking pretend?
Right. But I think in that case, it's like either other stuff would have been like made the connection so strong that camping didn't matter.
Right.
Because I don't think you have to like have everything aligned 100%. And or with this case, if camping was so core to their life and then it turned out like you were kind of like making this up, it would have blown up eventually. So
totally,
by being just open, you would have seen either way, like, is this something that's a deal breaker to them or not?
Yeah.
Like I remember this day actually very clearly. I was with a friend and we were getting drinks.
Yeah.
So my partner, when he sent me this text and was like, I knew music was important to him. And he sent this text like, have you been to Outside Lands, which is like this big music festival in San Francisco? And like even people that aren't into music have gone. Like it's like a big thing. And I had that moment and I was like, I could either lie or I can, because I'm like, I know what he wants to hear. He wants to hear like, yeah, I love this, I'm down. Or I could be like, tell the truth. And I think what I said was, I've never been before. It's not something I've actually ever gone to, but I would be down to. And that was like a truth, right? Like It doesn't mean that like you need to be like, I will never do this. Like if you are open to it, and now I love that event. It's like one of my favorite events of the year.
Mm-hmm.
For him, he's like, oh, cool. Like she's still down. Like she's not like, I will never go. Or he could have been like, that's okay. We have other stuff and I'll just find someone else to go with, or I'll go myself.
Or we have a friend who's like, I will never date anybody who never goes to music festivals. And we're like, okay, great. All right.
Yeah,
if that's your deal breaker, then you go find that person who only goes to music festivals with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big piece of this, though, is like vulnerability at the core, because when you open up your feelings or who you are or your desires and you don't know how that person will react, like it does feel risky and it can be scary. And I get why people want to take the easy path of just being like, yeah, I've been to Outside Lands. It's awesome. I go every year, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially when there's a sign of conflicts, like if you're not getting a need met, like early dating, someone isn't the best on text, but when you do hang out, they're great. It's easy to just be like, oh, well, I just won't say anything. I'll just enjoy the moment when I'm together. But then the resentment starts to build and then you never express yourself. But I think, again, it's like that fear of opening up with it.
And I still see this happening. It's not just in early dating. Like my parents still go through this. My dad is very uncomfortable being vulnerable.
Yeah.
They were playing pickleball the other day. And he was getting really like tired and hot, but he didn't say anything. And they just kept going. And my mom's like, God, he just seems like he's in a terrible mood. Because he seemed like he was unhappy.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, let's just go now. It's been an hour. He's like, oh, I was ready to go 30 minutes ago.
She's like, why don't you say something?
Like,
yeah.
Well, yeah. Why didn't you say anything? He's like, you look like you were having so much fun. I didn't want to disappoint you. And it's like in that moment, in some ways, this is the wrong word, but you have to take care of yourself first. Because if you don't, you end up being someone that's not pleasant to be around either.
Right.
And so at the end, none of them had a good time because he didn't express his needs.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And I know like my partners actually struggle with this. We do our weekly check-in. And there is the relational growing edge part. This is from Dr. Alexandra Solomon. She has a template. And there's a part that every week you have to say a relational growing edge. And I really encourage him to say something.
Yeah.
Even if it feels like the tiniest thing. And usually like when he says them, I'm like, okay, thanks. Like I didn't realize I did that. Not a big deal. Like totally will be conscious of this. But I feel like sometimes you need someone to like, if it's not natural to say this, so having like someone that's like makes it a safe space for you to do it or learning these skills is really important.
It's how people receive that
Yeah.
too. And if you're with someone who immediately gets defensive, someone who immediately shuts down or avoids the situation, that you have information there. And that person's not willing to work on growing this connection, right? And so like, it's not about scaring them away. You actually just filtered out this wrong person who doesn't want to be in the same relationship as you.
I think a big wake-up call for me was like, if I state something, even if we have a disagreement, the right person will work through it. It doesn't mean that like if you like have a conflict, the whole relationship blows up and ends. And I think for years I thought that, so that's why I didn't say anything. Like I think with my ex, I never wanted to say anything because I always had this fear that I would just like end it right there. And the reality is like, if your relationship is on that shaky of territory, that is a sign in itself that it's not in a healthy place. So being able to like tell your partner that you want to leave 30 minutes like before pickleball ends, like that shouldn't blow up your whole relationship.
Right. Yes. And maybe for some of you, you've experienced this in the past, which is why you are scared to express this in your current relationship.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've dated a guy whose ex, every time he would bring up something, she would get a little violent. He's like, I still remember the time she threw a shoe at me.
Shit.
And then he was like, it's really hard for me to bring up anything because I'm afraid that you would react in the same way. And if it comes from your past trauma and experiences, know that not everybody is the same, and you want to find the person who gives you space and grace to express yourself.
I think it also can be hard for us anxious folks that have anxious attachment style because
Yep.
it makes you like feel very concerned about saying or doing something wrong that might push someone away. So, knowing that about yourself too helps you be like, okay, is this actually the reality or is this just me getting in my head about things and, the response that I have to relationships because of my attachment style? I know for me, for years, like it would be because I didn't have a hold on that. Like I would be like overthinking, and it kind of reminds me of like what you were talking about at the beginning of like, how many ways can I send this text? When you're in that mode, it's a lot of that is driven because you just feel overall anxiety about the situation.
And speaking of overthinking, we tend to overthink so much, especially in early dating. We overthink how we're coming off, that first impression we're making. What is the identity we're presenting? I want to be cool. Like that was always my thing. I want to be the cool girl. What would the cool girl say? And now I think I'm old enough to realize I'm not that cool in early dating. I just can't be that cool. I can't be that like, whatever, chill. Yeah, it's cool. That's not me. And I got to shed that identity because it was never authentically me to begin with.
I just remember when we did Exit Interview, which is our offshoot podcast for anyone that hasn't listened, when we had Pylon on. And she was like type A to the core. And she's like, I'm just trying to be chill. And we're like, you're not a chill person. And that's okay. Like people though can feel when you're trying to be chill, when you're really type A and not chill at all.
This is the problem with a lot of dating advice is that you're trying to encompass everybody.
Yeah.
But there is no overarching advice for everybody. Everybody's different. So for someone to be like, oh, if you're having anxiety in dating, then just chill. Like, take on a hobby. Just be cool about it. That might apply to some people. But then to other people, it's like it's so against who they are to the core that it becomes performative. That's what builds resentment.
Well, I just remember you with your adult coloring book, like instead of texting the person and just being like, I'm just going to say what I want to say, you're like forcing yourself to do this hobby the whole time thinking about what was going on.
I will never look at another adult coloring book the same way. Like, why the fuck did I do that?
But in the Pylon example, she needs someone that appreciates the type A personality.
Yes.
Why suppress who you are? For someone, again, you'll be either doing that for the long haul, which is exhausting.
Yes.
Or your true nature will come out eventually and they'll be like, whoa, this is not the person I signed up for. And that doesn't really serve anyone.
That's such a good point because we all have a friend or two who may be a little difficult.
Yes.
We all know someone in our friend circle.
We do.
Who's a little difficult. Don't you sometimes wonder, like, how does their partner stand, like, being with them all the time? But they're able to find a match because that partner embraces the difficult parts of this person. And they see it as a good thing. Like
an asset.
Yes. I have a friend who is completely type A, who is so anal, who I can only handle like a few hours at a time, And
I would also.
And everybody who meets her, they're like, how? Like, how does anybody spend a ton of time with her? 'Cause she's a lot. But her partner, who she lives with, they've been together for over 10 years. Loves her. And he's super chill. Like,
yes. It's always that combo,
super
too.
Calm. And I remember her even being like, how do you stand me sometimes? Because I can't even stand myself. And he's like, I've just learned to really love it.
Yes.
I've just learned to love all of you, especially the parts of you that other people find off-putting.
And I think that goes back to like unrealistic expectations in society, just like feeling like there's this ideal version of who you need to be and that you need to fit a specific mold, but that's just not realistic. And we need to just crush that and be like, how do I lean into who I am and bring out the best sides of that? Like we can discover with our archetypes too. And again, attract the right people and let the wrong people go.
Get them out of your universe because they're taking up space. And if they take up space, it doesn't leave much room for that right person.
I'm still to this day so thankful that I got rid of that guy that was like right before my partner.
Yes.
Because I've told this story a few times, but I'll say it one more time in an abbreviated way. But there was this guy that I was super into, and we were trying to set up a date. Like, we hadn't actually met yet, but it was just over COVID. So it was a lot of virtual. It was intense. It was like on. And on paper, again, had a lot of commonalities. It seemed like someone, I started to get ahead of myself with it. And then, of course, when I came back, he couldn't find like an hour to get together. And this was someone that was like, I'm going to pick you up at the airport, like hot and heavy.
Yeah.
The old me would have been like hanging on to this initial feeling and trying to make it work, trying to find the time to meet the guy and like really pushing to do it myself and being type A about it. But the new me was like, I want someone that prioritizes me. If this guy can't even find an hour to meet up, then what am I doing here? Like, why am I even talking to this person further? And I said something to him, and it wasn't, again, in a mean or confrontational way. I was just like, hey, like, I am looking for someone that, you know, is really ready to prioritize a relationship and make the time to meet up. And if that's not you right now, all good, but I'm going to go like find that person.
Yeah.
And he wrote back and he was like, yeah, I think like right now isn't a good time for me. Like, I wish you well and I'll let you know if things change. And the text wasn't like to convince him to change and to like try to manipulate him into changing. I knew by sending that he was going to send a response like that or maybe not even reply at all. But it was to set me free to go find someone that I could be myself with and wanted the same things as I did. And that's exactly what it did.
Yes, you're looking for information. If we can couch it in, I'm just looking for an answer, then there's no qualifier to what the answer is. There's no good or bad. There's no like a rejection or acceptance. It just becomes information. And in your situation, you got clarity from the reply back.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, if he didn't reply back, that was also information. That gives you clarity into who this person is and what they're wanting with you. So if we can just see it as it's not about scaring them away, we're just getting information to know if this person is right for us, then we can just move forward. And it's not about this need for validation anymore.
Yeah.
Because if you were just looking for validation, Julie, you would have just kept him around. You probably would have texted. He probably would have been like, hey, how are you? Just thinking about you. Yeah, you probably get a few of those texts. What does that do for you, though? Other than somewhat of a dopamine hit every time that text comes around. But you're still not meeting up. He's still not prioritizing you.
No.
There is no need for that validation. Just remember, like the validation trap we've talked about many times before. All it's doing for you is keeping you away from the right person.
And I think it's like, yeah, maybe you get the dopamine hit, but you also get a lot of anxiety also mixed in and other stuff.
Yes. The dopamine spikes.
Yeah.
And then you've got to come down from that.
Right.
Because there's no follow-up. You're just going to be disappointed.
Yeah. I want to keep going on like how do we release this and then what to do next. But before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. I've been getting so many compliments lately on my wardrobe, and that's because it looks so damn luxurious. But the secret is that while I like luxury items, I can't always afford them until I discovered Quince. Quince is my go-to for luxury essentials at affordable price because who doesn't love the good things in life? Quince offers a range of high-quality items at prices within reach, like 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50, washable silk tops and dresses, organic cotton sweaters, and 14-karat gold jewelry. I've been pairing my cashmere oversized crew neck sweater with their wool straight leg pants, and I legit look stylish for once. The best part of all is that Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. So give yourself the luxury you deserve with Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dateable.
Let's be honest, we all stress about our relationships sometimes, right? But what if those thoughts take over your life and you feel this deep need to do something about them? Maybe this drives you to constantly check for signs that your relationship's okay. ask for reassurance from your partner or loved ones, or compare your relationship to others. These can be signs of relationship OCD, a type of obsessive compulsive disorder that focuses on your relationships. Now, not every therapist understands OCD or is qualified to treat it effectively, which can make it difficult to find the right kind of help. And that's where NoCD comes in. With NoCD, you can do virtual therapy with a licensed therapist who specializes in treating all types of OCD. They can teach you how to set those fears and doubts aside so that you can enjoy your relationship and your life. To find out more about therapy with NoCD, go to nocd.com and book a free 15-minute call with their team. That's nocd.com to learn more and book a free call. Trust me, it's worth your time to talk to someone who can uncover what's really going on and help you get your life back.
So yeah, I think the validation trap is so important to remember. It's a trap for a reason because that doesn't matter. And you really can't attract the right person if you are censoring yourself all the time and not being your authentic self. It's impossible. So you're really robbing yourself the ability to find a compatible partner at the end of the day.
Yes. And there's just like no way to date if you're just walking on eggshells, trying to be someone you're not, trying to go by a script. Or I used to, when I remember like in my early 20s when I was dating, I had a rules checklist for me. It was my friend and I did it. We wrote it down. It was like, wait 2 days to text back. Give one word answers in text. And so every time we would look at each other, like if we had to send a text or whatever, we're like, okay, let's go through the checklist. Oh my God, how tiring. Can you imagine being like that in a relationship? I was like 22.
But the fact that you were still in your 20s, that wasn't like 12, you know?
Right. And she and I would check each other. We're like, oh, you waited only a day.
Oh my God.
This is why.
And I think even if it's not that extreme, like I think even if you're just like withholding a text or withholding any information, then you are playing relationship chicken ultimately.
Yeah.
And you're not, putting yourself out there. And I think also like saying what you want and what you need in a relationship, like if you are withholding any of that, then you're walking on eggshells.
Yes. And that's no way you want to carry on a relationship. This concept of relationship chicken is so core to what we preach. It's like, if you want to be in a relationship, in dating, don't you want to engage in the same behaviors as you would in a relationship? Why do the opposite?
Yeah.
Trying to be someone you're not just so you can be in a relationship with someone.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. So can we start dating in a way that actually is going towards a relationship and not trying to be the first one to not express your feelings?
Right. In a healthy relationship, you would tell someone that you like them. You would tell someone that you love them. We're not saying tell someone you love them on the first date, but you could say you had a good time with them. Like it can be in those areas. We feel like we need to withhold a lot of this stuff to have the upper hand a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Or even to like say, I want this in a relationship, or this is important to me. You need to give someone that roadmap too.
Yeah.
And by putting all that out, if they really feel like I actually can't do this, then again, it's better to scare them away earlier so you can find the person that can, and you're not always like in this uphill battle trying to like convince someone to love you the way that you need to be loved.
And it gives you integrity in dating. If you were like are putting yourself out there and you're strong in where you stand, then people respect you. People end up putting you in a different tier of daters because they're like, okay, I need to be more intentional in the way I speak to this person, or I need to be more intentional about my actions. If you just let things play out and you never stand up for yourself, this is where people get commoditized. This is when people become disposable.
Yeah.
Because the respect, the integrity is gone.
That's such a good point, too. Because I think when people feel like it's like psychology, it's like they'll do as much as they think they have to do.
Yes.
Or they'll treat you the way that they feel like they can kind of get away with. So if they know that you're just like, oh yeah, I can commit, like I'm down, I'm flexible, I'll be available. Like if you ask me out like a couple hours before you want to go out or a day before you want to go out, then it makes it that like they can get away with whatever and kind of treat you as like a last minute option.
Yes.
So if you like, show that you actually have a life, you have things that are important to you, you have your own needs, you have like your own way of being, then they'll be like, oh, I actually like need to step it up if I want to be with this person.
And if they decide they don't want to step it up,
that's okay. Yeah.
Then you get your information. Can I give you a really stupid example?
Yes,
just go with me for a second. You hate this. I love this. I love Facebook Marketplace. And I know a lot of people don't like it. But I actually think it's the best social experiment ever. Because I know everybody complains about how flaky people are on Marketplace. You list something for sale and someone's like, is it available? Can I come get it like today or tomorrow? You're like, yeah, come get it. And then they ghost you or whatever. So what I end up doing is like, oh, I'm going to apply some of the same principles. Like
I love this.
I shouldn't be scared to scare away the wrong buyers. So I always set parameters. Someone's like, is this available? Can I come get it today? Like, please let me know by 2 when you're coming to get it because there are a few other people interested. If I don't hear from you by 2, I am selling it to someone else or I am relisting this. And I swear I have like a 95% success rate with this because it's not every time people buy, but they end up telling me if they're not coming. And that's the only information I need because then I can move on.
Oh my God. I love this example so much. It has so many parallels to dating because the reason why I hate it is that I'm like, yeah, just text me when you're free.
Yeah.
Like, come on over. And it's draining and nothing ever happens and people flake. But for you, you're basically being the empowered dater and dating with yourself at the forefront or selling stuff on Marketplace with yourself at the forefront.
Yeah, because it's like everybody can be like, hey, I'm interested in you.
Yeah.
Hey, you're cute. I'm interested in you. But then it's like, do you actually want to get to know me? And that's the next step. And if they really want to get to know you, they'll set a time. Yeah. They'll set a place. They'll show up with their Venmo ready. They'll be prepped. But if they're just seeing if you're like also kind of interested in them back, and then they have no intentions of actually meeting up with you or purchasing, then get the fuck out of here.
Stop my God, I love that. I love that example. And I think like first and foremost that like you need to know your own needs.
Yeah.
Because like if you don't even know what they are, like how do you set up a parameter in the first place? And again, I think needs and boundaries get like a bad rap, like the actual words. And I don't think you need to be like, my need is this or my boundary is this. Like you can just say without saying. But I think the step one, I mean, in our book, we have a whole exercise about finding your dating North Star. And what this is taking the why are you dating, plus your 3 core needs. And we have a list of like common needs in dating and relationships. So that will serve as like a starting point. But we also have an exercise that we have that you can even do right now without the book. But it's really thinking about like, what is that number one thing that irks you in dating?
Yes.
And how do you turn that into a core need? Like for me, it was when I didn't know if I was going to like hear from this person again, or, if they were going to ask me on another date, like when I had a great date with them. And the anxiety of waiting was a big one, or just like being unsure, getting mixed response from them. So I turned that into consistency as a core need. Consistency and reliability. And that, let me tell you, was not the relationships I was in before. The opposite, I was in an on-again, off-again relationship. So that alone is the anti to consistency and reliability. And it became a baseline for me. If someone couldn't even pass that, then like, I don't care about like other things on their resume and the chemistry off the chart and if I'm attracted to them. Eventually, like I did find someone that met my dating North Star and core needs, but also had, the chemistry and connection and all that. So it will happen. I think a lot of times we're afraid of putting like more parameters. So we like limit who comes through, but you're again filtering the right people in.
Yes. And remember, in a relationship, not everything is going to be like off the shelf ready for you, but a healthy relationship expands its capacity. So when you start expressing your needs, you're expanding the capacity of your relationship to meet your needs. You're not like saying, you're like right for me all the time. It's like you want to be with someone who's like, I'm willing to step up.
Yeah.
I'm willing to meet your needs. Even if I don't have the capacity right now, I want to expand it. And so when you are clear about your dating North Star, it gives you agency to take action. Who cares if you're the first to make a move or the first one to text? It doesn't matter because this is your life. You should be making that first initiative. So a way to look at it is if you find something that's disruptive to your life because you're thinking about it, you need an answer, or you can't plan something because you don't know what the plans are, or you are unsure about what this text message means and it's taking up space in your brain and it's disruptive to your day, your next question is, what can I do right now to make this less disruptive in my life?
Yeah.
So if it's like, okay, I need to know what the plans are for Wednesday. It is now Monday. You can dwell on it, but hey, this is disruptive to my weekly planning. I am going to take the action of asking, what is the plan for Wednesday? Not for you to say, oh, is this person still want to see me for the validation? But it's like, just so I can have the answer for scheduling purposes.
Right.
Right? It's very simple. Whatever makes your life smoother,
Yeah.
ask yourself, what is the action I can take to make my life smoother?
Yeah. So ultimately, you got to know that you can't mess up what's meant for you.
I love that.
And there's really a reason for every experience that's happening. Even if it doesn't ultimately lead to the relationship you want, it's again better to scare off the wrong people so you can clear your path and eventually that person will come. And that person will come.
They are, especially if you pick up our book. It heightens your chances.
Yeah.
When you put more of your needs into the universe through reading our book, because that's what the book does, it helps you bring all of your inner dialogue to the external world, then you end up attracting the right person because energy attracts energy. When you hold it all in and you're trying to figure out what's going on and why are you stuck, nobody can hear that. Like it's not external. You're just hiding it or you are keeping it away from the outside world. So yes, get our book, How to Be Dateable. If you haven't gotten it yet, you'll understand your dating archetype and why you are holding back some of the things you are because of your archetype, right?
Yeah.
And then how you can start expressing yourself more. That puts you in the driver's seat and that gives you agency over your own love life so you can attract the right person for you.
Yes. You know, a lot of people that gave us some wonderful quotes, but I'll give a quick one. An empowering read to help you find your person from Logan Ury, who is the author of How to Not Die Alone and then also on the Netflix show Later Daters. So empowering is what comes to mind. I feel like our book is empowering. I feel like you will walk away being like, I got this. And that ultimately is, you know, half the battle of dating.
Yes. Welcome to season 20. It's a great way to start season 20. Great way to really kick off the year.
Yeah.
We're going to fucking do this. Like, I'm pumped. I hope you are pumped too. We're going to change modern dating for good.
Stay tuned. We will be having some book-related events that are going to be in the upcoming months. So keep an eye out on our social media at Dateable Podcast. Join our mailing list if you're not there yet. And if we're coming to your city, or let us know if you really want us to come to your city.
Yeah.
And if there's places that you think would be really good to either do a talk or bookstore or, you know, any social club or anything like that, we'd love to see if we can make it work.
All right. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode.
Stay dateable.